Point is up next. Today we are receiving Barrister Neneba Innocent Akufo, attorney and counselor at law in New York, United States of America, human rights defender and major proponent of decolonization. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Babila. Always a great pleasure being on Equinox. Absolutely enjoy it.
We are equally receiving a Cameroonian civil society activist, Padia Sanga, joining us from Hamburg in Germany. Paddy, you're welcome.
Babila, thank you for having me, and I'm very, very grateful that you are bringing me and my brother, Barrister Anene Innocent. You hear the name Innocent, to discuss on pertinent issues that affect our country. And I want to encourage you people, amidst everything that is happening in Cameroon, stay strong, because we cannot stay here and keep our tongues or put, what would I say, steal our tongues while you people are taking the hit. And you just planted a declaration by saying that human rights abuses, a barrister is incarcerated, they took his phone and all those type of things. These are issues that are unacceptable in a country that says it is democratic. If you take my phone today, you would see all sorts of information incriminating the government, incriminating the separatists, incriminating the French government, or incriminating Emmanuel Macron. But I don't know if where I would be situated if I find myself in such a situation. So Barrister will plan the declaration, and I'll come in to tell you exactly what I know, and I will speed it as it is as an Abqa boy. Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about the arrest and detention of Barrister Nicodemus Amungwa, one of the lawyers defending detained Anglophone leaders, Isiku Ayoktabe and co. Let's take a look at these statements contained in the report of the United Nations Secretary General in the UN Security Council. And concerning Cameroon, that report said, notwithstanding several initiatives, no progress was made on continuing political dialogue to achieve a durable solution to the unrest in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Barrister Neneba, your reaction to this?
Yes, Mr. Babila, the thing is, if you are dipping your hands into an endless pit, you always come out empty. Or if you're moving from nowhere to nowhere, you arrive nowhere. That's exactly what all this thing has been premised on. You know, when they had the national dialogue trying to bring people together to find a solution to the existing problems within the two Cameroons, the Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon, they paraded everything, brought people from abroad, you know, met all the big news organizations, you know, and made it sound as if this is the best of it. But it was just a show. It was just nonchalant. It was something that from its design, you knew it was going to fail. And all this parade that these people do all the time, it is fooling people, killing Cameroonians. They deal in slogans as bootleggers deal in fake spirits. And the more innocent the customer, the more easily they are easily sold into slogans like democracy, progress, justice, and peace, which in the end, it doesn't lead us to anywhere. You know, I've told you many times, time and time again, that we cannot be letting the United Nations or foreign powers come knocking on our doors every day and telling you what to do when you absolutely know what to do. You know, if you can define what system of government you're running in Cameroon or in the Cameroons, then you will know exactly where you are. I think we are running a system that's failed. We continuously try to propel it on legs that have already been broken. And that's where we are, and that's where we'll continue to be. So what the United Nations,
right, Padi Asanga, you took part in the major national dialogue, and after that meeting, lots of things have been happening. The regional elections taking place, and the putting in place of the regional institutions to accelerate the new decentralization code with the special status for the northwest and southwest regions of the country. But despite all of these, the United Nations say, notwithstanding all these initiatives, no progress was made in continuing political dialogue to achieve a sustainable solution, a return to durable normalcy and peace in those two regions.
You see, Babita, I have to be very, very honest, and I don't believe in the politics of empty chairs. And somehow, some people might accuse us that we cautioned that national dialogue, which is true, but we went there with a clear agenda, with the restoration of institutions that we took away from Nigeria and brought to Cameroon until 1972. And coming out of that national dialogue, we had a very, very clear agenda, which was the Canadian model, because we did not want to invent the wheel, because they keep saying that la solution c'est quoi? We have a failed decentralization that they did not ignite it until the Anglophone crisis popped up. So we went to that national dialogue. Yes, we came out with solution, but the only success that I and those of us who were in the disarmament or de-radicalization commission is that we, through the help of Cardinal Toomey, we have to guarantee the fact that the lives of those boys and girls who were coming out of those bushes were not going to be killed. And that's why you saw people like Success Congo, Nambere, Clovis, and all those who left the bushes, and they are still alive. But if it comes to the part of the government is pregnant with bad faith. And that is why I will always say it out, and I will speak it as it is, because we have this peculiarity, and that is what has made Canada what it is today, that Canada and Cameroon, they have this bijural and bicultural, in quotes, system, where you have Francophones and Anglophones. But the reverse is true. In Canada, the Francophones are the minority, and in Cameroon, the Anglophones are the minority. So we can adopt that system, and then we come out with something that reflects who we are with our own identity. That's why I don't want to play partisan politics here, because you know that I have been schooled in a political school of thought, but I'm saying that that is what is good for the Cameroonians, and that is what is good for Anglophone Cameroonians. So
that to happen, Padia Sanga, there must be a return to peace and normalcy for all those or what you're saying now to be put in place, for that form of state to be put in place, if at all the Cameroon government authorities ever come to accept such proposals. And there have been calls for inclusive dialogue, peace and reconciliation, and one of the persons who made this call recently was the Secretary of State of the Holy See. That was on January 31st, 2021, and that was during a meeting in Bamenda, notably during Mass in Bamenda in the northwest region. And he called for inclusive dialogue, peace and reconciliation. But all these seem not to be coming anytime soon.
Listen, Babila. There are two people who are pregnant with this spirit of intolerance, violence, brutality, and colonization. When you look at the DNA of the Jacobinist government in Cameroon, it has the hallmark of a violent post-colonial activities, beheading of people, killing people, harassing people, torturing and kidnapping dissident voices, and so on and so forth. When you look at the other people who call themselves the neo-liberators, they have the same fingerprints. They've just copied what the French under Ahidjo did, and then passed it on to Boya, and that's what our people are having now. So I understand the international community when they are calling on both sides, but those both sides don't represent the majority of Cameroonians, and those who call themselves Ambazonians, who are Cameroonians, they don't represent Anglophones, because I don't think that they represent Barrister who is sitting here, or they represent me, or they represent the Catholic Church and Cardinal Toomey, whom they went and kidnapped and accelerated his death. So we must say these things the way they are. I would want to let you.
I'll come back to you in a short while. Barrister Anenebag Innocent Nakufo, do you think that inclusive dialogue and reconciliation can open the way to a return to peace and normalcy in those two regions?
Yeah, if yes, Mr. Babila, if there is inclusive dialogue, the way it's supposed to be, designed the way it's supposed to be, not the way from the perspective of a selective minority, then it would never work. You understand? Because if you seek, I go with the school of Spender. You know, if you seek truth and justice and not politics and privilege, you will build a better society. What these people are doing, they want power, they want privilege, they don't want justice, they don't want truth. Because if that's what they wanted from the get-go, you have realized that the design of the inclusive dialogue that they did sometimes last year was absolutely going to be a failure. So, and this is the problem with a decaying society, and which comes back to devour itself. If you look at the end stages of capitalism, Marx absolutely said it. You know, the very structures that you've built, the very institutions that you've built, they tend to cannibalize themselves, and that's the end stage of cannibalism. That's the end stage of capitalism, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Cameroon, what they're trying to do, because you cannot be moving the goalpost every time you're trying to do one thing, you move it, you show it until the end, you're not doing anything. So if the prelate came from Rome saying it should be an inclusive dialogue, yes, it should be. There are sane Cameroonians. There's sane Southern Cameroonians. I don't know how you call them, whether you call them Ambazonians or Southern Cameroonians, or how you call them, or Eastern Cameroonians or West Cameroonians. These are people within a particular enclave where they want peace, they want justice, and they want opportunities for generations for tomorrow. You cannot leave this land to a select few people who've decided to coin authoritative laws that tend to devour each other. You know, people cannot progress from where they are because the state is a state of terror. So no matter
yes, the U.S. Department of State says it is deeply concerned with the continuous violence in those two regions and has announced visa restrictions for those it qualifies as those undermining the peaceful resolution of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. No further precisions on names of either government authorities or non-state armed group fighters and leaders. Do you think that this can go a long way, or better still, how far can it go to drive the two regions to peace and normalcy?
I think it's a right step towards the right direction. Again, as I said, you don't want the West to be in telling you what to do when you can do the right thing. I am that person who really doesn't want somebody to come knocking my door and telling me inside my house what to do. But if you read Inverted Totalitarianism by Sidney Sheldon, you understand why the West comes to Cameroon and tell them what to do. Because this is a failed democracy. It's an inverted democracy, which is quite different. It is democracy incorporated, which is different from what classic democracy is. And if that's the situation, then anyone can come. China can come tomorrow and knock the door and say, please, you have to do it this way. The French will come knock the door and say, you have to do it this way. You don't have to find yourself in that situation. So if Representative Hirsch, a Republican from Iowa, is telling the Foreign Relations Committee, because he's a ranking member of that committee, is telling Cameroon that this is what they need to do, then they better toe the line. Because I told you one time that when the war in Liberia raged for decades, what happened? We don't want foreign powers to come to Cameroon and start fighting and things like that. We want Cameroonians to be able to sit down and solve it. So what happened in Liberia is what the younger Bush did. He amassed 600 Marines at the shores of Liberia. And what happened? Chancellor fled power. He left. That's not what we want for Cameroon. That's what we want for these people. We want these people to sit down and discuss these issues. That the Senate has decided to restrict this, to impose visa restrictions on some of these top officials, select few, whether it's the government or those who are fighting the government. It is a right step in the right direction, because we need peace in that enclave to sit down with sane minds and decide what's good for that country. Again, if it means you people live apart, there is nothing wrong with that. You understand? You had lived apart for
right. The right step towards the right direction, according to Barrister Neneba. Padi Asanga, You seem to be agreeing with that opinion, but the question is, how far can it go to bring solutions to the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions?
You see, to be in line with my brother who's sitting on the panel with me, I am not one of those people who think that Africans should be taking injunctions from Western powers. And we have something that we call the Transatlantic Alliance. And if America is actually serious, America should select some people, maybe Emmanuel Macron, and add him on that list, because we already understand that we are ruled by governors that are handpicked by the French. So Emmanuel Macron should, Joe Biden and his administration should start by refusing visas to those people who are giving injunctions to Mr. Biya, those people who have refused to apply the resolutions of the National Dialogue, that is, restoring the institutions that we brought into the Union. Because we know that this decentralization that they are trying to push forward, it's based on the French Napoleonic system, where they say, "Ça c'est moi," comme le chef d'État a dit. That is what the Americans should be doing, and they should stop playing this hypocrisy. One thing we also know is that, Mr. Babile, and I want to be very, very honest on this one, those people who are also responsible, who don't want peace to exist in Cameroon, they are on the American soil. What are they doing there? So they have to use their transatlantic alliances. Why America is asking France to deliver Mr. Biya and his people, ban them from traveling, refuse them visa, refuse them residence permit. France should be telling America that Eric Tator, all Chris Ano, and all those people who ask for the heads of chiefs to be chopped off, all those people who kidnapped Cardinal Toumi should be brought to book, and genuine Cameroonians who have their hands clean should have something to sit on the table and talk about this issue. Not people who were part of the system yesterday, and then when they left, they totally discovered that the system is not good. We are not going to accept that. My brother might not agree with me on that one, but that's a position that we held, and that will be justice for all the victims. So,
Padia Sanga, we are rounding up your opinions on the arrest and detention of Barrister Amungwa Nicodemus in some few words or sentences. I begin with you, Barrister Neneba Innocent Akufo.
Barrister Amungwa Tanyi, he's a fine lawyer. He's a legal mind. He's somebody that, I know exists in Cameroon and does the job the way a lawyer is supposed to do. There is something called attorney-client privilege. There is confidentiality between an attorney and the client, which means whatever information you gather to represent your client, the government has absolutely no reason to take you into custody to divulge that information or to testify against your client, because if you do that, then you become a witness against your client, and it goes beyond every rule of jurisprudence. If these people decided to arrest Barrister Amungwa because he was taking pictures, where is the free speech in Cameroon that you cannot stand anywhere and you take a picture of an establishment? Because if you do a Google map search, you can actually take the picture of the presidency of any gendarmerie station in Cameroon. You don't have to go there with a camera. So if they are using this as a basic pretext to arrest an attorney, it's a shame. It's a travesty of justice. These are not the people you should be arresting. I know Barrister Amungwa because he has represented people pro bono. That is, without even asking for money, just because he wants to free people. These are not the
Padia Sanga, you have a few seconds to go.
Yes, Babila, I want to join my voice to those people who are calling for the release of Barrister Amungwa, because we also know that this culture of intimidation, inciting fear, exists in both camps. One of our young barrister, also Barrister Lenjungo Vitalis, was kidnapped by Ambazonians, and he was shot in the leg, telling them that they were the ones who started this thing, and then they left it to them, and so on and so forth. So you understand that we are dealing with a group of people, the Jacobins in Yaoundé and its so-called administration or gendarmes, who are torturing lawyers, and then we have the Ambazonians, on the other hand, who arrest their own lawyers, and the audio and the voices are out there decrying the fact that this thing is coming from a bunch of intolerant people who think that Cameroonians have to be recolonized and they have to pay allegiance. They believe in the urgency of thinking in one direction. They don't know what they call democracy. And to concur with Barrister, we Africans have to forge another way of democracy that is typically Africans and not copy and paste. And then we find ourselves in a situation where we find ourselves. I think
Tanga, civil society activist joining us from Hamburg, Barrister Aneneba Innocent Akufo, attorney and counselor at law in New York, United States of America, and human rights defender. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Babila.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Equinox Soir is up next.